Hello, welcome back. My name is Winter, also known as Winter Heals, modern shamaness, doing quantum and life design through the lens of human design, gene keys, channeling, law of assumption, law of attraction, core shamanism, a whole slew of things. So I'm recording a video every day for 30 days this month, a personal challenge for myself, speaking about my process and how I created the life I'm currently living. And yesterday's video was about how to practice the art of surrender. And today I want to talk a little bit more about what that practice looks like. I kind of touched on it yesterday in terms of like the more general process of what it felt like and looked like as I was in it at that time. So I had what's called a Trustfall twice. Once in 2017 when I left New York City and moved to Colorado, and again this past year when I left Colorado and went on a sort of spiritual mecca that brought me ultimately to Montana. And one thing I could say right off the bat is I'm going to be talking a little bit more in depth about what this process looked like for me each time I went through it. It did have a different flavor. So the first time I did the trust fall back in 2017, when I left New York for Colorado, purely guided by intuition, the flavor of it back then was a little bit more of being able to experience the things before committing fully to the things. So it was kind of like the practice for a full trust fall, I guess. So all I knew is that spirit was guiding me to leave New York. It was like, you need to live in the mountains. I was doing a lot of channeling. I was doing a lot of energy work with clients. Being in a major metropolitan city was super draining for me. And no matter what I did to try and like refill my cup, it was really hard. I can only see like a limited amount of clients per day. And I did not see how this could possibly be like sustainable long term. And on the weekends when I was able to do it, I was going to upstate New York, recharging in the forest on hikes and in nature, and then coming back down into the city. So the reason why the 2017 trust fall had a different flavor is because as much as I was learning to navigate my inner landscape of trust, I had started my meditation practice a few years before. And a meditation practice is so important to help you understand what's your energy and what's not your energy, especially when you're on the spiritual awakening journey, because you're going to be experiencing these really beautiful things, both light and dark things. And in order to be able to follow like your own inner wisdom, listening to your heart wisdom, listening to your body wisdom, all of that, you need to understand what's you and what's not you. Everything that's outside of you is not you, but sometimes it can be confusing, especially when you're a sensitive, empathic, intuitive, um, psychic person. So a meditation practice is really important for this. Excuse me. So that was a whole like sidebar to basically say that I was very much in tune back then with my inner guidance, speaking with spirit. I was working with different energies at the time, both nature energies and deity energies, like Goddess Isis, Archangel Michael, um, different higher level, like ascended teachers and master energies like that. So I was listening to those energies guiding me like, you need to leave this place, which is super draining for you, move to another place, which is going to be much more supportive for you energetically. And I would ask like, okay, where, and it's like to the mountains, which is not super specific. And the reason why is because free will. Spirit is never going to ask us to do anything that encourages or entices us to give up our own free will. So I had to figure it out through trial and error. I thought maybe upstate New York at that point in time, the possibilities that were offered didn't pan out. So I was patient. I was like, okay, I'll wait. And then a girlfriend of mine who I'd been in the music scene with, who had been living up in Canada, mentioned that she was moving back to her home state of Colorado, back to Denver. And she was like, if you ever want to visit, let me know. And I was like, yeah, I'd never been. So I was also concurrently at the time teaching in the New York City public school system as an ESL teacher, which I, unfortunately, after 2 years of teaching in the system, I realized it was not my path. Teacher, yes. ESL teacher, no. So it was summer. I went to go see her. And as soon as I was in the energy of Denver and I saw the Rocky Mountains, I was like, can these be the mountains Spirit was talking about? So I took a moment, tapped in the way that I do in order to channel, and I felt the energy like immediately, which was like mind blowing to me, because back in New York, when I would try and tap in, it would take very slow for the energy to move through, kind of like dial up internet. Now I'm dating myself for those of you who remember dial up internet. So in that Trustfall, the beginnings of where I was going to be, I was given like previews. So my girlfriend invited me. I went. I loved. I was hesitant, but then I realized as I came back to New York, I was like, yeah, I got to do this. And as soon as my girlfriend found out, she's like, yeah, we're going to make this happen. And so once I consciously decided that was the pathway for me, the universe like literally like rearranged the pieces on the playing board. Everything fell into place. Within a month, I was out of New York into Colorado. It was super easy. And then it was a whole new section of the journey where I was like figuring out, okay, how do I transition from teacher, like ESL teacher, to spiritual teacher? But again, all of that's in the book that I'm in the process of writing, my third book. So more of that will be in there. I don't want to stray too far off topic here. So I needed a breadcrumb. I needed a preview. And it's like Spirit knew that. Source knew that. So it was like, hey, you need a preview, visit your friend, feel the energy, get the full experience, make the decision. Awesome. You're on board with us. Great. We're going to put everything all into place for you to like go over there really fast. So then I was in Colorado for 7 years. Towards the end of that 7 years, it began feeling like a struggle, not in the same way how New York felt like a struggle, but more in a way of like things were slowing down, and my ability to manifest, like things would spark up and then sputter out. And I realized that a cycle had come to an end. And in that space, just like how I had mentioned in the last video, I was asking, if not this, then what? Like I kind of reached that breaking point, right? So I'm circling back to that to explain the new trust fall process that I was given was similar in the sense that I heard directions, like very clear instructions, like you need to do this, 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 and this. And I was like, okay, great. The difference was this time, because I was further along in my spiritual and evolutionary journey, I knew that if Spirit was asking me to go over here, I knew that I had very third dimensional needs that Spirit would need to meet in order for me to be able to meet its request of me. So it's like the universe has this 5D plan, this multidimensional plan for all of us, right? It's like an agreement with our higher selves. And there are times when we become conscious of, like, oh, this is the way I'm supposed to be going. When we're in alignment with our higher selves, we get like the view of that plan. And so I was getting glimpses of this plan that my higher self was in agreement with source, and I was like, okay, that's great, but I need to meet these 3D requirements in order for me to make it happen in this timeline so that I can get to the next timeline. The next timeline is a part of the 5D blueprint. Hopefully you're still following. So I was asking for a space to be opened, a portal. I call them portals, like a doorway, portal to be open, in the place where Spirit was asking me to go. Spirit was like, you need to go to Hudson Valley. Great. It's not cheap to live there. So I'm like, you need to open up a portal. Also, I'm interested in like community living. If you could find me, like, maybe I can be like a roommate or something, that would be great. And Spirit opened up a portal in a town that I had visited a few years before when I drove cross country to visit family in New Paltz. So I was already familiar with the town. I did not know about the space that it was opening for me, but the memory, the familiarity was enough for me to be like, okay, great. So I applied for it, got in, drove across country, landed there. It was wonderful. So even though I hadn't been to the place, I'd visited once. I knew the energy of the space, new place to live, moved there, right? So that was like the next level of it. And then the next higher level of it was when I finished my time there, and I was guided, like, you need to go to Montana, where I had never visited, nor did I have time to visit. And this was like the highest level of the trust fall so far, where it was just like, do you trust? And I'm like, yeah, but I have these requirements. The space needs to cost this much to fit within my budget. And all that I want is that it's by water, because I would love to live by water, because it's something that I want to experience. So I had a need request and I had a want, a desire request, and I didn't care about any of the other details. And I also said, actually, I need it by this time. So I had a money constraint, like a budget constraint. I had a time requirement restraint constraint, when I needed it by, and the last thing was just a desire, like, please let it be by water. And so with those three things, I let Spirit cook, and then it was like, okay, here's a new portal for you to go to, that I had never been to physically. Um, Energetically, I was visiting in my dreams, but physically, never been to before. So I had to really trust and take like the biggest leap by far. But by doing that, it opened up such new levels of possibilities and love and abundance that I will be talking about in the next video. So if you're here, I'm so glad you're here. If you're enjoying this, please hit the like button. And if you're new and want to stick around for more content like this, please hit subscribe. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.